Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event, and I'll help your attendees get over the hump now. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because we have someone on the show who, really gives us some really important information in today's world that will make a big impact to no matter where you're headed. Mark Babbitt was born in the Eugene area of Oregon. His parents, who have been married for nearly 60 years now, raised him, his older sister, and younger brother in a series of lumber towns throughout Oregon and Northern California. Mark has always had an entrepreneurial spirit. His parents will tell you that he's even been an entrepreneur since the age of 8. He has been blessed to have a diverse career path. He joined the U.S. Air Force at 17. He spent 8 years in Silicon Valley, leveraging his skills as an engineer in the semiconductor industry. He returned to his entrepreneurial roots by running an advertising agency for high-tech companies from 1990 to 99, and he then dove headfirst into the startup world in 2000. After 4 startups, and now on his 5th, he hasn't looked back. Throughout his one constant, he's always been coaching and mentoring. He's coached football, basketball, baseball at every level, from T-ball, rec league to high school sports and national programs. Coaching and working with our future leaders keeps him grounded no matter where life seems to take him. When people think about Mark, he hopes they see one thing more than any other. He's a mentor. He wants to be known for making a difference, one young life at a time. His tombstone will read simply, "Kids and dogs loved him." Mark currently serves as CEO and founder of U-Turn, a site that enables college students, recent graduates, and young professionals to find their first and next internship or job. He's also president of Switch Shift, a leadership community dedicated to helping leaders embrace the social age while leaving in the industrial age best practices behind. He serves as the CMO of ForwardHeroes.org, a community that helps U.S. military veterans and their families transition successfully into civilian careers. Mark contributes to Huffington Post, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, Monster, and many other publications. He's the co-author of A World Gone Social, How Companies Must Adapt to Survive, a top 10 Amazon bestseller in 6 business categories. He's also been listed by Inc. as a top 100 leadership speaker. Mark currently lives in the mountains of Colorado between Denver and Colorado Springs. He and his wife Deb have raised 5 children, ages 29 to 9, and they have 2 granddaughters, ages 8 and 1, and they have 2 more grandkids on the way. They also share their home with 2 other children, a chocolate lab named Cinder and a lab retriever named Cash. Mark Babbitt, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Well, after that long bio, I better be, huh?
You got to deliver now, man.
No pressure.
Now, I've given our Legion a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, I think the current passion remains helping others and giving back. When you've had a couple of nice, successful startups, it isn't about the money anymore. And so I'm in a great position to serve as a mentor and a coach and not have to charge money for it. And it's a pretty good place to be in my life.
That is a great place to be. And I think we can all, appreciate, getting to there at some point. I always say that, I keep applying for that, retired job, but they're not hiring me.
Well, who's in control of that, Jim? You or them?
That's a great point. I was sharing off mic, and I've actually shared with a couple of folks, reading through, and believe me, it's a lot to absorb, but A World Gone Social and all of the content that you guys have in here, I think you shared is like 39,000 words. I mean, it's
93,000 words.
93,000, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And 93,000 words. I mean, it's just so much to cover. But there was one thing that kind of stood out for me, and you even signed the book that you sent to me, and I really appreciate that. But you said, Jim, thanks for being a blue unicorn. What is that?
So a blue unicorn, Jim, is that leader who has left everything he or she knows behind about industrial age leadership. They've forgotten that they were trained to be loud and decisive and autocratic, and they had to have all the answers. A blue unicorn is a social leader, one who listens first, talks second, one who collects all the wisdom in the room before making a decision, one who mentors others and And sure, he believes in accountability and is results driven, but it's supportive accountability and it's team-based results. And it's just a much different way to lead in today's economy.
Well, and I dare to say that, we're being forced into in a lot of ways. And let's go back and really kind of point and get a little bit more specific on what you talked about, the industrial age styles and things like that. Taylorism is a particular type of method of management that really started with the industrial age. And Frederick Taylor really dictated a lot of the management styles and practices that many of our boomers actually were developed and mentored and apprenticed under. And there's a lot of carryover effect in that. So when you start talking about Taylorism and being able to help organizations make that conversion, where are you finding the most challenge?
Old white guys, right? I mean, seriously, boomer white males are our biggest barrier to success because of everything you just said. In business school, undergraduate work, through their mentors, through their peers, through their parents, usually their fathers back then, they learned one way to lead. And that was, the General Patton style, right? I have to have all the answers. I have to be the loudest. I have to give people a reason to take the hill. And I'm going to tell them what that reason is. I'm not going to ask them their reason. I'm going to control the messaging. I'm going to tell them what's best for them. And if they don't like it, I'll just go find somebody else to replace them, right? We were just cogs in the machine under Taylorism. And that's changed so much now, Jim.
So for those, even when you start talking about senior, level positions, and I don't care what size of organization you're in, it's of all types, whether it's, Fortune 2000 or whether it's even, mid-market or even some of your smaller businesses, there's still a lot of that old Taylorism mentality that's running those. And there's a statistic that I keep, coming across and sharing with folks is that even in the U.S., when you start thinking about small businesses, there's literally millions of businesses that now will become available either for purchase or acquisition or merger because of these old white guys. They're retiring. There's no one to pass it down to. But how do we get those folks to create and have a different legacy for their organizations so that those businesses do continue?
Well, that's a great question, Jim. And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is probably simpler than people might imagine. Find somebody you love and teach them everything you know, right? Invest in your succession plan. Invest in the person who you trust and have enough affection for that you will actually give up control to them. But that's the hard part, Jim. That last part, and it's not just small businesses, it's corporate America too. Again, it's those old white guys. They don't want to give up control. They don't want to let go. This is their life. This is how they measure themselves. This is what they are. And it's hard to give all that up. But man, the people who are doing it are just doing amazing work, and their legacy turns overnight. Their legacy goes from, good businessman, got a little grumpy when he got old, but sad to see him go, to, dang, I love that guy. He taught me everything I know. I'm the person I am today because of her. And what a difference that makes in your life and the people who follow you.
And that is true. So, okay, now I am somebody who I'm an Xer, right? And even when you look at the numbers in regards to boomers, to Xers, to millennials, there's just like this huge void of people. There's
you are in the minority, man. You are
a tremendous minority. And so even when you start thinking about transitioning and turning over leadership, it's difficult. But I'm also one of those people that, when change needs to occur, I kind of hold on to it and I just try to drive it as much as I can. And that sometimes hasn't served me well because I get impatient with it. But I'm sitting in a position, say I'm in an organization. I have that old white guy who's atop of me, who's, really just doing that Taylorism thing to me. And I can't stand it anymore. But I know that, in a couple years, he won't be around. How can I survive?
Managing up is a big part of this, Jim. But that's so hard. And it's exhausting. Right now, here's where the social age can actually be our friend, though, because business has changed so much in the last decade that old white guy sitting up on top of you is probably dying for new information. He's He's looking around. He's saying, boy, we're not as competitive as we used to be. Our numbers aren't as big as they once were. What, that new company that's always on that damn Facebook all the time, with those kids, they're doing good and I'm not. What, right? And the first line in our book is change is the direct result of insurmountable market pressure. And that old white guy he's going to, at one point, he's going to look at you and go, man, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing well? I want to hear that too. But what am I doing wrong right now? What are we doing wrong? And that's where an Xer or a millennial or a Gen Z can walk up and go, you know what, man, we'd be great if we actually mined reviews on Yelp and we answered people on TripAdvisor and we got on social media and turn our customers into brand ambassadors. We'd start getting ahead. So all of these digital native skills, all of these things that might come more natural on a digital or social level to Xers and millennials, those old white guys, they're just dying to know that, right? And yeah, they're going to be a little slow to pick up on it, but once they do, wow, it's earth shattering.
Yeah, those are some really important points. And as you were talking, I started thinking about something that would really be an asset or part of the toolkit for that person who, wants to be able to initiate, those changes, is that for it to be less threatening to that old white guy, it's really important to talk about, the legacy that got you to where you are, because that's what that old guy wants to hold on to, is that we are this is who we are, and this is what got us here, and being able to preserve that. In the area of appreciative hearing career, they talk about finding your power core and not getting too far away from, your identity and who you are, because that's often not a path that can be supported by the organization because it's just too far left or too far right. But it's holding on to that power core. So how do you actually convey or help folks to actually find that power core and use it as part of that influence?
Well, here's the differentiator for that, right? Because you do have to stay within your core business and you do have to stick with what got you there, or that old white guy's going to go, no, too much too soon. I can't do this, right? So here are the key words. Social, digital is an amplifier of what we're already doing. It doesn't change what we're doing. It lets the world know what we do really well. So if we build a really good product, or if we provide exceptional service, we're going to get others to talk about us on digital and social media and amplify what we're already doing. We're going to gain more customers by using a digital bullhorn. And when you explain it like that old white guy goes, okay, I can, you know what, as long as I don't have to push the buttons, I'm good with this, right? And Jim, I was in this position when we launched U-Turn. We were going to be a B2B service bureau to university career centers. We were going to help the career centers help their students. And 6 weeks before we launched, the recession had hit. Every career center on the planet was having layoffs and budget cutbacks. They had no money to pay us. Well, we'd already invested $1 million in our startup. It's self-funded, and we had no place to go. So 6 weeks before we launched, I looked at my team and said, now what? What's the pivot, right? We're not giving up. We're not quitting. What's the pivot? Monday morning, one of my young guys came in and said, Mark, we got this. We're going to go blog, and we're going to jump on social media, and we're going to be so damn good at what we do that everybody starts talking about us. We won't have to advertise. We won't have to generate revenue through traditional means, all word of mouth. And we dubbed that the testimonial economy, right? Where you do become so good at not just what you do, but amplifying what you do, that other people become your change champions. Other people become your brand ambassadors. And that's how we built 3 communities now. And it's an amazing transition that's so far distanced from the industrial age. It's kind of earth shattering, and it blew me away. I looked at young Joe and went, "You are crazy. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life." And it wasn't dumb. Turned out he was brilliant, and he saved our company and helped launch 2 more.
Well, good. Kudos to you for actually letting him, move forward with that and not block.
Oh, it took months, Jim. It took months to get this old white guy on social media. But once I was on, I was hooked.
So, with what we're talking about here, it's definitely filled with tons, of emotion and need for focus. And one of the ways that we look at that for the show is through the quotes that guests share with us. Is there a quote or two that you can share with us that will help?
Well, there is. I was in the military, and I was stationed in Okinawa, and there was a sign in Japanese above my bed while I was there, and for a long time it just bothered me that I didn't know what that was, and after several weeks I finally asked the guy at BQ what that meant, and he said, well, in English it basically means fall down 7 times, get up 8, and I was, I don't know, 18 at the time. I thought, that is just brilliant. Right. It's so simple and so brilliant. So that's kind of been my thing ever since. And then through all my trials and tribulations, several startups, some successes, some fails, some great aspects of my career, some not so great. A very stressful divorce at one point when I became a single dad with full custody of 4 kids. I developed my own mantra, if you will. Started on social media and then eventually went to my life. And it goes like this, Jim. No trolls, drama queens, or divas. No takers, no fakers, no assholes. And that's the mantra I live by now. If somebody's not contributing positively to my life and those people I care about, I'm not going to spend much time with them. We have to surround ourselves with people who want more, who want better, and that's my goal.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that, and a lot of people would probably say, well, that's not very compassionate when you say, that some people need to be cut out, but that's reality.
Oh, especially in the social age, because we get inundated with the self-promoters and the spammers and the assholes. An asshole, I have to enunciate that very carefully. Asshole with a K, ASK, is that person who keeps asking and asking and asking something of you, but never gives back. That's an emotional, financial, physical drain. And we're just bombarded by those people all the time now. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very choosy about who we spend time with and who we invest time with.
Well, and all of that means that we have humps that we have to get over in order to be able to move forward faster. And so, is there a time where you can share a story when you've had to get over the hump?
Well, I think the pivot that I already talked about was certainly a big one, but I think for me, learning how to be the guy out in front was a big deal. When we launched U-Turn, I had, in my corporate world and even in my advertising agency, I was always the man behind the curtain. I didn't have to be out in front. I didn't do interviews. I didn't have to do public speaking. I was the engineer who sat in the back and figured out how to get stuff done. And that was my role. And all of a sudden with U-Turn, I had to blog, I had to write, I had to be vulnerable. I had to expose my feelings. I had to take a stand, right? And that's a different way to think for those of us, especially an introvert like I am, not an easy thing to get over. And so, especially public speaking, I was the guy who would literally throw up before I had to go on stage. And so to conquer that and to break through some of those fears and those barriers to success, it's been a fulfilling journey, but it hasn't been easy.
So when you started thinking about, being able to move from, the backstage to the front stage, if you were to give people a particular piece of advice in order to help them do that flip, what would it be?
Own it. You just, whatever it is, whatever you are, you got to own it. Everybody wants to be the next Gary V. Everybody wants, a long time ago, everybody wanted to be the next Stephen Covey, right? No, you can't be the next anybody else. Whatever it is you do, whatever your value proposition is, you got to own it, bottle it, and sell it. And if you're a little quirky, if you're a little different, if you don't do everything perfectly according to Toastmasters or the best journalists on the planet, then so be it. But you gotta be what you are, and you have to sell what you are.
I think that's a really important point that you bring up, because I was just having this conversation with another guest for a different episode, and we were talking about, the uniqueness and the difference. And I said, well, that's actually what you want to embrace. You don't want to fall in line with everybody else, because then you just look like everybody else. So that quirkiness and those types of things is what you do need to, you talk about, you're using your word, amplify.
Right. Well, that's it exactly. What do you want to amplify? Do you want to amplify that you have a unique message and a unique style and passion for what you do? Or do you want to amplify that you're a Me Too play and that you'll sacrifice your integrity to make a buck, or that you'll spam the what out of everybody just to help your conversion numbers, right? If you're going to amplify something, amplify integrity, amplify trust, amplify empathy, right? Amplify something good.
Exactly. So when you start thinking about, U-turn, the book, speaking, coaching, because actually we had, had a particular time that we were supposed to meet earlier, and you had a client who requested you. So, I mean, all kids, dogs, wife, you got all these things going on. What's one of your goals?
Well, my goal remains the same. My goal is if I can get up every day without the alarm, and I know that I help somebody or a group of people meet their goals, I'm good. And I hope that remains that, and catching 3-pound trout once in a while. I'm good. I mean, I'm at the point in my life where I live on 5 acres in the woods up in Colorado with those dogs, with the kids, with now 3 grandkids and 1 on the way. It changed a week ago, Jim, since we sent that bio to you.
Awesome.
Long as they can come visit once in a while, I'm good. So my goals remain the same. Now that doesn't mean I don't have personal things I'm working on. I still want to be a better speaker. I want to finish my 2nd book, which we're working on right now. I want to have a unique voice. I want to make my presence known, but mostly I want to conquer the biggest fear that I have, and that is someday I won't be relevant. I won't matter anymore. And that's everything I do is to that goal. If I ever woke up and I had just stopped being relevant, that would probably be like my worst nightmare.
Well, the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. The number one thing that contributes to customer loyalty is emotions. So move onward and upward faster by gaining significantly deeper insight and understanding of your customer journey and personas with emotional intelligence. With your empathy mapping workshop, you'll learn how to evoke and influence the right customer emotions that generate improved customer loyalty and reduce your cost to operate. Get over your emotional hump now by going to empathymapping.com to learn more. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Mark, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Mark Babbitt, are you ready to hoe down?
I am ready.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
I suck at delegating. I need to get way better at that.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Well, it gets right back to what we already talked about. Be yourself. Be unique.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I'm a workaholic. I work forever, but I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like work.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Well, now it's social media. I mean, I know it sounds crazy for an old white guy to say that, but I couldn't live without that.
Okay, Mark, what would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners? It could be from any genre. Of course, we'll put a link to yours.
I got to tell you, the first business book I ever read, still the most impactful, Jim, that's In Search of Excellence.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Mark Babbitt. We'll also have a link to Mark's book, A World Gone Social, How Companies Can Adapt, or How Companies Must Adapt to Survive, that he wrote with Ted Koene. Okay, Mark, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the knowledge and skills that you have now, and you can take them back with you, but you can't take everything back. You can only choose just one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
I would take back, I would delete arrogance. As a young engineer, I thought I knew everything. As a 25-year-old, oh my God, I thought I was just on top of the world, and I didn't listen well. I was terrible. I was just terrible. That's the one thing I would change. Active listening is a skill that comes with age, perhaps, but it's something the more we talk about it, I think more people will know that it's expected of them now in the social world. We can't talk and listen at the same time, and you can't listen just to figure out what you're going to say next. Active listening is probably the most in-demand soft skill in the world now, and I didn't have that at 25. And man, if I could change that, I sure would.
Mark, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Well, I still answer my own emails and my own Twitter stuff, social media, mark@uturn. That's YOUTERN.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Mark S. Babbitt, 2 B's, 2 T's.
Mark Babbitt, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net. So so we can help you move onward and upward faster.